go more into detail about what are some of the components of this Sirtfood diet, where did that come from, what are Sirtfoods, and is this a plan that can be effective for you in the long run? Those are the main things that I want to cover. Here's the core of the Sirtfood diet. You have a lot of Sirtfoods that I showed you. There are others I'm going to talk to you about. And you're going to have this green juice about 3 times in the beginning of the plan, and then at least once a day as you go more into the maintenance phase of this plan. Here's the core. Now, I don't have a powerful blender. It's a pretty decent blender, but it's not a ninja mix. So I had to add a lot of water to juice this, but I'm going to taste it. Here's looking at you, kid. I'm going to be honest, and I'm a vegetarian, but I would not look forward to drinking this every morning. However, what I do like about it is it's excellent. All of that, what I put in there are wonderful foods. Plus you can add some parsley. That's vitamin C. So you have a good source of fiber, and you have powerful antioxidants in here with the kale and the other good foods that are in there. So it's good. But I made the recipe. I made this juice according to the recipe for those exceptions that I told you about. I didn't use the fresh ginger. I used ginger paste, and I didn't use the matcha tea. But other than that, and it's because I have a sweet tooth. It's because I have a sweet tooth. I would probably add a little honey to this, or monk fruit, and okay. So let's get into what the Sirtfood diet is, and is it something that can really work for you? Because that's what you have to process. You want to be on a plan that you can follow the rest of your life. You don't want to go on a diet off. That's really not good for you from a physiological standpoint. It can slow down your metabolism. So that's the key thing that we want to know. Is this a diet that's effective, and can it work for you?
Now, let's just get into what the Sirtfood diet is. It includes eating these specific plant foods and or Sirtfoods that activate the sirtuins. Now, sirtuins are a cluster of essential enzymes that regulate your health, DNA, repair, and metabolism. These sirtuins are dependent upon nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide and or NAD to function. NAD is a coenzyme that is found in every living cell. The diet is built around the consumption of these Sirtfoods, which stimulate metabolism, fat burning, and support cellular health and decrease inflammation. All of those are wonderful things.
Here are some of the Sirtfoods specifically that are recommended, and they are fish, capers, buckwheat, arugula, celery, chilies, cocoa, coffee, extra virgin olive oil, garlic, that matcha green tea that I mentioned to you, kale, dates, parsley, red endive, red onion, wine, soy, strawberries, turmeric, walnuts. Those are the main foods that are to be included in this plan.
Following the diet, the initial phase focuses on these green juices and eating these Sirtfoods, and they're low in calorie. So you're looking at, in the initial phase, about 1,000 calories, and you would have 2 servings of a fish. Like I said, those green juices, maybe 3 green juices a day. And then you gradually will increase to 1,500 calories. So now on the maintenance phase, you move toward more solid meals, but you're still focusing on those Sirtfoods, which have been previously mentioned. The plan lasts 3 weeks. There's a lot of focus on the green juice, no calorie restriction once you get to the maintenance phase. And again, the Sirtfoods and the green juice are the main core of this plan. Now I want to cover, is it effective and is it a reasonable plan for you? Is it doable? Is it a plan that you can do every day of your life? I didn't particularly care for the green juice because I do have a sweet tooth, and that's my disclaimer. I do have a sweet tooth, so I would probably have to add something for me to look forward to drinking the green juice. But even so, I would fatigue of having this as a part of my dietary routine. But what's good is things that are in your green juice and eating those cert foods are certainly good choices. I want to emphasize that. Those foods are high in antioxidants. And I always say those antioxidants defend us. They take care of our cells. And most of those foods are very low in calories, with the exception of a few, like the walnuts and the buckwheat. Those wouldn't be low in calories. So the majority of your diet, you don't need to worry about counting calories because the majority of the foods that you eat are very low in calories. Many may experience anti-inflammation. That's another plus for this plan. The initial phase of this plan would be very difficult to adhere to. 3 green juices a day. It sounds like it's no issue, but that would be torturous for a lot of people. And anything that's very low in calories after a certain amount of days can negatively impact your metabolism. What we want is to focus on things that increases our metabolism, not decreases our metabolism, because that works against us. Unless you have a juicer that juices the entire plant, then you will be missing out on fiber, a lot of the fiber. Now, I blended the whole plant food and I got all of the fiber. I don't mind that mine is not the consistency of the juice. I'm fine with it. But if you want the consistency of the juice and you have a type of juicer that separates the pulp from the juice, then you're missing out on a lot of fiber. And one of the issues that we have is we only take in about half the fiber that is recommended for us. So we want to focus on how can we get more fiber into our diet and not less. A low-calorie diet, you're going to lose weight. Whether it's a cert diet, the grapefruit diet, or any other diet that I can think of where you restrict your caloric intake, you're going to lose weight. But most of that weight comes from water. And not only that, but you decrease your stored carbohydrates on these very low calorie diets, and you're losing water and not so much fat. You may even lose some lean muscle mass. So it's sort of like water weight loss may be as much as 60 to 70%. Fat loss maybe 20 to 30%. And muscle tissue 10 to 15%. It would be wonderful if the fat loss were as much as 60 to 70%. But that's not the case with these very low calorie diets. So that's something to keep in mind. So it doesn't matter whether it's a Sirtfood diet or any other diet that's very low in calories, you are going to experience that. But here it is. It can be addictive, because you're losing all of this weight and you're saying, oh, this is wonderful, that you may want to go beyond just a week or so on that initial phase because you're getting all of the pounds are going down and down and down. And that is remarkable. So you may want to continue to do that. And you don't want to be addictive to that. So you will fatigue, go off the diet, then go back on. You may stay on that initial phase just a little bit longer because a lot of times when you go back on, you start picking up even more weight. And then you're on that yo-yo diet, which we don't want. And when you go to the maintenance phase and beyond, you may have the tendency to go back to your old eating ways, and then you'll start picking up the weight again. That's the tendency that a lot of people have, and that's why a lot of times these very low-calorie diets are not sustainable. You want a diet that allows you some variety. You want a diet that you can eat with your family and go out and eat with some restrictions. Yes, there are a number of foods that we should avoid eating if we're trying to maintain our weight. But there are a number of foods that we can include that would extend beyond what the Sirtfood diet plan offers. My takeaway, when you get to the maintenance phase, yes, you can eat a little bit more food. You're up to 1,500 calories, but there isn't a lot of specificity about what you can eat beyond this plan and even on the maintenance phase. Because of that, I think a person would quickly grow fatigued of eating just those specific foods. I think that it would be wise to include some other foods and still be able to maintain a healthy dietary plan, meeting your goal and having a little bit more variety. So that's my concern there, that you would definitely fatigue of having just those specific foods all the time and juicing as much as what is recommended. I'm not seeing any information about you can include other grains on this plan. Now, buckwheat is a seed, but it's we use it as a grain. But other than that, I'm not seeing that you can have other types of grains or true grains on this plan and other types of fruit other than some berries and citrus fruits. So I'm really not seeing a lot of nutritional variety, and that would be my concern. And the low calorie plan, although they're up to 1,500, that may not meet the needs for other adults who are trying to be more physically active. They may need a little bit more calories than that.
No data to back up its effectiveness, and there doesn't seem to be any data to back up that the Sirtfood diet uniquely targets fat loss compared to any other low-calorie diet. So that's what I wanted to share with you on the Sirtfood diet. Thank you for joining me. Please subscribe and share me with your family and friends. And that's what I wanted to present to you. Well, I'm Das. I'm out. Please join me next show.